Bobcat Nation, we're so proud to have played for Montana State.
And wouldn't be where we are today without this program.
Now it's our turn to give back. Bobcat Collective is making a real difference for current and future athletes.
Montana State gave us a foundation to pursue our NFL dreams.
Join us in building something special, because when we invest in our athletes, we invest in the future of Bobcat football. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Join the collective today. Go Cats.
Lead-up coverage to Montana State spring ball continues as the spring game is happening in Bozeman on Saturday. Nick Jean-Baptiste, the defensive line coach of the Bobcats, joining us now. Coach, appreciate you being here. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How you doing today, Colter?
Good, man. Thanks so much for taking a minute for us. First of all, we got to talk to you about Nashville and the national championship, because I haven't caught up with you since then, at least not during an interview. So just tell us your perspective. I mean, what an awesome football game. Comes all the way down the wire. I'm sure pretty stressful being on the sidelines as a coach, but you got it done. And so just take us through it from your mind, just some of your memories from that evening.
Like I said, it was a pretty emotional roller coaster, to put it lightly. Like I said, started off pretty strong. I thought we were doing pretty well first half, and then second half, those guys, I mean, there was a reason why Illinois State was in the national championship. They're a tough team, and like I said, they played tough. You saw them a couple rounds before sit there and come back and beat NDSU in the same kind of fashion. And so it kind of felt that kind of way. It was moving that way towards the second half. And but we were able to sit there and put enough plays together offensively and then defensively, like I said, we didn't get too many stops, but I said, really that stop on the field goal block, and then just being able to make it happen. I know that everybody keeps talking about the 4th and 10, and so, like I said, and then the extra point block as well. Just getting those 2 blocks was kind of pretty satisfying. But the whole way through, my blood pressure was going all the way up till the end. So glad the clock hit 0 and we were on the winning side.
Well, it seems like it sort of encompassed just the attitude and mindset of your team, though. I mean, like a guy like Paul Brott, for example. He was busted up all the way down the stretch last year, but like he said, I'm not going to not play in this game. Like, whatever it takes, I'm going to figure out a way to play. It seemed like that was sort of the mindset of the team too, right? No matter what it takes, we're going to figure out a way to win, even if it is a whole bunch of ups and downs.
100%. I think the last couple months and the last couple of weeks, that team had really just sat there and decided, hey, we're going to do what we need to do to be on the winning side each week, especially when we got into the playoffs. I mean, it was, like I said, it was a tough game against Yale. Like I said, we were going scrapping back and forth in that game. We found a way to win that one, going against SFA, and then, like I said, getting the Grizz back here at home, getting those 3 opportunities. Like I said, just finding a way to get it done when it was crunch time. I think it was big, and then, like I said, it rolled into that national championship, same kind of mindset. No, like I said, nobody was trying to be off that field for anything when it came to injuries, and Paul especially. And so, like I said, guys are just. That's one thing about that 2025 team that I think it really. They really showed poise and really determination to, hey, whatever the job needs to get done, we're going to finish it and get it done. So I'm proud of those guys.
Well, so much of last year's success for the Bobcats, too, was the great leadership that you had, and so much of that resided on the defensive line. So just take me through that element. That must have been so rewarding. I mean, obviously you're happy for all the guys, you're happy for your fellow coaching staff, all that stuff. But to have 4 seniors up front that were sort of like the heart and soul and the glue of the defense, you must have just been thrilled for those guys. So just take me through your perspective on what it was like sending guys like Paul Brott and Alec Geckert, Kenneth Iden, Hunter Parsons out with a national championship.
I mean, it was awesome. Like I said, it was really fulfilling, honestly, to me, because, like I said, for 3 of those guys, I got to see them as freshmen. When they first got here, like I said, that first springs together, we all basically had our first spring together, and getting to see those guys grow up to what they were this past season, and like I said, especially with Paul and like I said, Paul Kinney and Hunt, those guys, they've completely changed themselves physically, mentally. Like I said, they became dominant players, and so just getting to see that pay off for them with the work they put in, and then Alec coming into the fold in 2024. And then, like I said, him kind of joining and just being able to understand what the mission was and basically a seamless transition for him. Like I said, it was one of the best feelings, honestly, that I've had. Like I said, it's for me as a football coach, that's one that I haven't had a chance to have. And so being able to sit there and see them raise that trophy up there on the podium, I was pretty excited.
Nick Jean-Baptiste, the defensive line coach for Montana State, joining us here on Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio, as well as the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series. Montana State hosts the Sonny Holland Classic at Bobcat Stadium on Saturday afternoon. Not a ton of change when it comes to the roster, because only 9 seniors last year. But probably the biggest change is the defensive line, because you do lose those 4 seniors, and also Sean Howe, who's been the defensive coordinator but also been working with the D-line for the last handful of years. He's on his way now to Pittsburgh to coach with the Steelers. So an elevation for you as well, so congratulations on that. But how much does that sort of influence the room? Because it is sort of the group that has maybe the most turnover out of any of the groups on the team.
It's like I said, it's been a change, and like I said, and so the one thing that's always been constant has always been change in our room, and so, but like I said, just having a full cell change like that is a little bit different for us. Usually it's like 1 or 2 guys that have graduated, but like I said, having all 4, like I said, take that next step and graduate and be done with football has kind of been interesting. But like I said, we've had guys in that room that played a lot of ball for us. Like I said, Zach Cruz, Talon Marsh, Zach Black, Hunter Charbonneau, Dom Solano. Like I said, those guys have already had reps. Like Dom, Zach, Talon, and the other Zach, they've all played in the national championship, so they have some experience. And so that's been the good thing about it, is they understand what it takes to get to that point. And so now it's just their turn, basically, like those 4 seniors did, kind of pass the torch to them. It's time for them to kind of take that leadership role. And they've done a good job so far this year, especially Cruz. Like I said, he's kind of taken the reins on the defensive line and kind of sat there and got those guys going. He's kind of been the vocal leader of the defensive line so far, with, like I said, Talon sitting there understanding, like, hey, I'm just not the young guy anymore. I am the guy that we're going to be counting on now. So he's kind of taking that approach as well. And especially, like, Zach Black's been here for almost, like I said, 5 going on to year 6, I think, with him. And so he understands what the expectations are. And then Dom Solano as well. Like I said, he's trying to find his voice as well. And so those guys have done a good job of being able to lead the room, along with, like I said, myself helping out there, facilitating it, myself and Coach Askelson out there facilitating that whole situation. But it's been different. Like I said, not having Coach Howe around. He actually called me yesterday just talking. He asked me about the scrimmage and everything, and we kind of talked through some stuff. But like I said, it's a little bit different not having him physically here.
Well, Zach Cruz has had natural leadership, traits ever since I remember interviewed him as a skinny little sophomore at Sentinel High School years ago. But now it seems like it's sort of his time, right? It's like his time to become that guy that everybody knows he can become. He's been a great player so far, but now he could be like a headliner type of guy, in my opinion. I think his talent is there, and he sort of has that mindset too. So how do you sort of draw that out of him?
Really, honestly, I give him just opportunities to be the leader in the room. And so for the most part, like I said, it was kind of getting his opportunities to get out there in front of the group, whether it's in drills, whether in the meeting, just talking, letting him sit there and kind of find his voice, which he does pretty naturally already. And so, like I said, it's just giving him the opportunity to show like, hey, this is the guy that's going to sit there and lead this room. And he does a good job of it. And like I said, I have been prouder of him since he's been here.
And then Talon Marsh, he was one of the most disruptive players I've seen in the Montana high school ranks when he was at Helena Capital. And he showed some flashes last year, certainly had some big games. He had the big moment against Northern Colorado where he gets the thick 6, where he rumbles all the way up and down the sidelines. That was all of our linemen's dream, right? Get the 91-yard touchdown. But what's next for him? Because I think that you can always see his potential. And again, he was a dominant player in high school. So how does he sort of take that next step? What do you hope to see out of him on Saturday?
Talon's been an interesting one because, like I said, he was so dominant in high school. He kind of was kind of like that Kenny Iden kind of pathway where it's like you were really, really dominant out of high school, state champion, like I said, career leader in sacks, single season sack record holder as well. Just getting him to understand, like, you got 10 other guys that are just as talented as you are now. You don't have to do everything. And so that was a big transition for him, his freshman and, like I said, his true freshman and redshirt freshman year these past few years. And so, like I said, kind of the back end of this past season, he did a really, really good job of kind of taking that approach towards, hey, understand, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to play with great technique. I'm going to be physical out there. And so he did it, like I said, he kind of took that next step. And that's where he got to a point towards the back end of the year where I just felt like, okay, this guy can go out there and help us. Paul Broad didn't have to be out there every single rep. I can be able to rotate talent in, and he can sit there and get the job done. And so now it's more so, hey, now it's your turn. You're going to be the one leading this group. I want you to be out there kind of starting this thing off now. You're not coming in after 2 series, after Paul's been out there 2 series. It's your turn to start this thing off and start it right.
Well, it seems like that part, finding the next group behind these guys now is a key factor, because these guys were sort of like the guys that made the whole group come together and made you 8 deep across the board. So who's stuck out in terms of some of the younger guys maybe that are fighting their way to the rotation so far this spring ball?
Well, if anybody's been to practice, they've probably seen 2 guys so far that I've either been yelling at or I've been sitting there praising, and it's Seth Brock and Josiah Oswego right now that are doing a really good job. Joe's just a big, imposing human being, and he does a really good job so far. He's still learning some things. He's still growing. Like that, I always call him. I say he got big paws on a puppy. He hasn't even scratched the surface of what he can be yet. Seth Brock has taken leaps and bounds this spring so far. He was a guy where just understand, like, he's very twitchy, very athletic, but being able to hone that into being able to play 111 defense was always kind of the deal for him. And so this spring he's taken that approach. He's kind of changed his mindset. He looks like he plays a lot differently, but still is just as athletic and disruptive as he was when he was in high school. Hunter Charbonneau's doing a really good job, but he's also got we also got Hudson Weems sitting there pressing right behind him as well, who's done a really good job of understanding both nose and 3 technique. And so he's been versatile, just like Charbonneau. And then on the other side, it's like Blaine Downing, Logan Frederickson so far right now as well. And then, like I said, I got Jake Vegans right there, right behind him. And so trying to find those ends and making sure I can be able to go, like you said, 8 deep. Be able to sit there and be able to rotate and keep these guys fresh like we were these last couple of years. So when we get these late playoff runs again, we can be able to sit there and keep everybody fresh.
Well, Town & Country Foods is 100% employee-owned. They have 9 locations serving Bobcat Nation around southwest Montana. Town & Country Foods focuses on great food at a great price with a huge selection of organic and natural foods. Check out their weekly flyers on tncfood.com. Town & Country Foods in Bozeman, Belgrade, Helena, Livingston, Lewistown, Billings, and Dillon. Town & Country Foods, a stalwart of the Bobcat community and a proud sponsor of the road to Nashville at Skyline Sports. Backed by popular demand, 2 of the Treasure State's favorite sons will host a series of youth football camps across Montana this summer. Fresh off leading Montana State to its first national championship game in 41 years, Taco Dowler and Adam Jones have decided to run it back at Montana State. Part of their desire to stay in Montana stems from being able to influence and inspire the next generation of Bobcats. Jones and Dowler will host 5 camps across the state in the month of June. The duo will be in Missoula on June 6th, Billings June 13th, Butte on June 20th, Helena June 21st, and Great Falls on June 27th. Athletes between the ages of 6 and 14 of all skill levels are welcome to sign up. Dowler and Jones will be accompanied by their Bobcat teammates, providing coaching and positive mentorship for the kids. Each camper receives a camp shirt, water bottle, snack, Gatorade, plus the opportunity to earn custom prizes personally selected by Adam and Taco. There will also be specific time carved out for autographs from all the Bobcats, and merchandise will also be available. If you'd like to sign up for these summer football camps, visit Taco and Adam SummerFootballCamps.com. The Taco and Adam football camps are proudly presented by Taco Treats and Yellowstone Law. Downing was a freak in high school. It was fun watching him compete. But I mean, he's man against boys, right, at the Class B rank. So how do you sort of close that gap? Like, what's the learning curve like for a guy that does come from a small school but has a lot of the physical traits that you'd want?
Well, it's kind of funny we say that because Charbonneau was kind of the same kind of guy.
Totally,
and so,
yeah.
Like I said, for having both those guys where it's like you're playing 8-man ball out there, you're playing Class B ball out there, it's like I said, it's a little bit different understanding, like you can't out-talent everybody. So now it's like I said, you're going against Braden Zimmer, or you're going against Titan Fleischman, and like I said, you're going against these guys, Nate Thornton out there. You're going against guys who are similar, or like I said, similar talent level. You got to be able to sit there and play with great technique, and so that's where Blaine it's a learning process right now, learning curve right now with Blaine, but he's done a good job so far. And the one thing I love about him, he's so coachable. And so what he takes from drill work, he's been able to apply it into practice when we get into live team settings. And so he's made a lot of progress. He's made some strides, and like I said, I'm glad to see it. And I like his demeanor too. He's got a little bit of a toughness to him, and so he's not going to sit there and take any crap from anybody out there. And I like it. And so, but it's good. Like I said, it's a very competitive kid. And so, like I said, he's done a good job so far.
For you as a guy that's from Texas that played in the Big 12 during your playing career, what's it been like to sort of learn the ropes of Montana? And I learned, because you got guys in your group, like you mentioned. I mean, Charbonneau's from nowhere, man. I mean, Fairview's like in the upper right-hand corner. There's like 800 people in that whole town. So, but I mean, you can get good players that are there too, right? I mean, Mason Deppin's from like a 100-person town. Brody Greeby's from a 100-person town. What's it been like for you sort of learning the ropes of where these guys are from and sort of what it does take to help them go from, tiny little town to the big stage at Montana State?
Well, what's funny is that it kind of reminds me of being back at Baylor, where you're getting guys from towns that aren't, Houston, Dallas,
sure,
Austin, San Antonio. You're getting guys, during my time, we were getting guys from, like you said, kind of 200 people towns. And so you're playing these guys, like they're not used to being out there in the big city. Or like a lot of my teammates, they had never been on a plane before. And so that was always interesting. But these guys, like, that's what it kind of reminds me of. It's like Texas football, where they might not be big towns, but the people in there are supporting, and they love, like I said, they love their sports, and they're all about it. And so going into different places and getting to see these guys in their own element, like I said, we got a couple like that right now. Jace Banson's coming in. We signed him as well. Like, he's not coming from Grass Range. Like, he's not coming from a big town, but I know that he's supportive, and he's coming from a supportive community. And so, like, there's another one where it's just understanding, like, these guys are very, very talented, and there's a talent all over the state. Doesn't matter where it is, whether it's in Billings, all the way down, like you said, into Fairview, Shelby, or even, like you said, or out there in Freud, Medicine Lake. And so, but like I said, there's talent in the state, but the support and just the community togetherness when it comes to the community pride, when it comes to these high schools, is, like I said, similar to where I'm from.
What do you have to see on film out of a guy in high school like that to think, okay, that could translate if we get our hands on him and get a couple years to work with him?
Couple things. Honestly, like I said, athleticism is one thing, because we look at defensive line. Like, to me, DNs are usually pound for pound one of our most athletic human beings out there. You've seen Zach Cruz. Like I said, you saw Kenny, you saw Brody Greeby a couple of years ago. Like I said, those are guys are usually pretty athletic. And then you just want to see a mean streak, violence, and then just, like I said, being able to really be able to, and just the openness and coachability, like that point as well, because that's one thing, like meeting with Chase and getting to talk to him as well. Like I said, he was very much open to playing defensive line, and so just watching his film, he impresses me because of just how physical he is at that level. And so, but once again, it's going to be a transition for him once he gets here, just understanding what we're asking him to do, and like I said, not just being able to out athlete everybody, but the thing is that he has the right tools. It's more so just getting him to pour himself into getting to understand 111 defense.
You would be hard-pressed to find more experienced attorneys when it comes to major felonies, sex crimes, attempted homicides, anything like that, because between Nathan and I and Megan and the rest of the attorneys in the office, we just have a ton of experience in those types of cases. And a lot of that comes from the background of prosecution. So Nathan was a prosecutor in the Marine Corps. I was a felony prosecutor down in Beaverhead County. So we did every possible felony there is. Trial experience when it comes to that. Did attempted homicide trials back in Indiana and other major felonies. What I would say to potential clients why they should reach out to us is I think we separate ourselves from the competition when it comes to communication with our clients, transparency. A lot of people get an attorney and they won't hear from them for 6 months or something like that, and that's the biggest complaint that we hear is communication with clients. And I think we separate ourselves in that way. And then as far as results, all you got to do is go to our website. I think we would put our results up against anybody here in the state when it comes to what we're able to do. And at the end of the day, I mean, justice is the goal, but there's also a lot of mitigating factors out there for people that, hey, 99% of people out there made a mistake, want to own up to it, and want to take responsibility. The 1%, that's a different conversation. But yeah, I think we're in a great position to offer a ton of services for clients.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Right down the road, pump it up, oh yeah.
Nick Jean-Baptiste joining us here on Nuanez Now, talking all things Montana State football. Okay, so 2 last questions for you. One thing that has been talked about at Montana State for a long time has always been the standard that the defensive line is sort of expected to uphold. I think that, there's been an All-American defensive lineman every decade since the Big Sky was invented back in 1963, I think, when you look at the wall there at Montana State. I know that meant a lot to the group last year as well, and I know it meant the world to Paul Brott to get up on that wall. So what's sort of your gauge on this year's group and their understanding of that expectation?
That's one thing that those guys are continuing to learn. I think they understand what's been asked of them and what we're asking of them all the time. It's just now getting to see, like, hey, okay, I've heard this before. Now, like, what does this truly mean now that I'm in the kind of the driver's seat now? I've been the guy kind of in the back seat, kind of taking for the ride, but now it's time for me to sit there and kind of lead the way. And so, like I said, it starts with Cruz and, like I said, Cruz, Dom, and Talon and Zach Black. Like, those guys have to understand that what we're asking from you is that it's not like you guys can sit there and kind of hang out and wait for somebody else to make this happen. Defensive line, we have to set the tempo. So you guys have to sit there and be the ones out in the front. You have to be proactive. Everything that you have to do has to be to a certain standard. And that's one thing that myself and Coach Askelson continue to keep them accountable about. And understanding is like, hey, this isn't good enough. What we're putting on film, it needs to be better. Or, hey, this is what championship, this is what All-American standard looks like. We need to continue this. We need to see more consistency from it. And so the guys, like I said, they get to see it. They got to see it firsthand now for the past 3 years. Like you said, with Paul, Kenny, like being All-Americans, Brody the year before that. We've had, like I said, Chase Benson, Daniel Hardy, when they first got here. Like, those guys understand. They've seen it firsthand, and now it's just their turn to sit there and understand and kind of apply that so these younger guys that are in the room can sit there and kind of take their place and seeing it firsthand.
Well, is that what you want to see then on Saturdays, just consistency out of your group, or what are the main priorities? What are the main things you're going to be expecting and watching in the spring game on Saturday?
I would think that I would definitely say consistency has been the big thing for us so far this spring. It's just I think the level is there, and I've seen these guys sit there and kind of and continue to get better. It's more so being consistent. Some days we've been a little bit up and down, and like I said, obviously we're going against a really good offense, and we're going against really good offensive linemen, and so there's going to be a back and forth. But I just want to see, like I said, I want to see consistency when it comes to our technique, understanding what our assignment is, and then being able to sit there and play with effort and be able to, once we have the opportunity to make a play and put ourselves in position to make a play, go out there and go make the play. And so Saturday, really, like I said, I'm pretty hands-off. It's time to have fun. But I want those guys to understand, like, this is still competition. Guys, go out there and show me that you understand what I'm asking of you. And then, like I said, you continue to build trust in the room between your teammates and between myself and Coach Askelson.
Well, it's going to be a very fun afternoon in Bozeman. Very much looking forward to getting my eyes on the Bobcats for the first time in 2026 version. And we appreciate you helping break it down. Thanks for being here, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. You have a good one.
Will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
One Pawn, Missoula's #1 pawn shop.
Well, you want money, we got money. You need money, we got money. We're cash.
Do yourself a favor and make Cash One Pawn part of your online shopping habits. Cash One Pawn has an awesome online inventory, everything from firearms to power tools to speaker equipment to jewelry. Visit Cash One Pawn today.
Cash One Pawn.
8720 Roller Coaster Road, CashOnePawn.com.